We are back with the New Game Plus podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Brendan. We are at New Game Plus, which is in Kingston, New Hampshire, retro video game store, and we are a bunch of nerds who love to talk about video games and sometimes the future of video gaming.
Or, as today, we are going to discuss the potential lack of a future for a certain gaming company, namely Xbox.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh God. Oh man. Oh God. Oh man. Oh God. Oh man. Oh God.
Yeah. If you've been following the rumors, it was rumored for a long time that there wasn't going to be another Xbox. That has been disproven. They have just recently confirmed there will be a next-gen Xbox, as well as later this year we'll be seeing a handheld, sort of like a Steam Deck, Switch sort of thing.
Yeah. Huh? Which is odd because I feel like they're ripping off the Switch, they're ripping off the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know if there's going to be much more room in that market for something like that. I think the Steam Deck and the Switch have a uniquely niche place in that genre because one is Nintendo and the other is PC.
Right.
So anything you don't want on your Nintendo and you want to play on PC, like those two fulfill very different needs.
Yes.
And it's making me wonder where the hell Xbox even fits into that equation.
Yeah, I mean, everybody except Nintendo has been having a lot of trouble in the hand. I mean, look at the PlayStation Portal that came out with the PS5. That was, a huge dud.
Yep.
You had the Vita, which I enjoyed and has like a niche following, but there wasn't very many games for it.
Yep.
I used it as like a remote play sort of machine for my PS4 back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's, Nintendo and then the Steam Deck. Valve is always,
It's Valve.
Yeah, Valve is their own behemoth that they do whatever they want, and they have the PC market basically, cornered.
Yeah.
So the moves that Microsoft is making, it almost feels reactionary, or they're trying to sort of catch up on trends, and I don't see the way forward with it.
Yeah. I've been with Xbox since the beginning. All the consoles. I even suffered through I think I had 4 Xbox 360s in the accursed Red Ring of Death.
Yeah.
But I kept going back because that's where the games were.
Yep.
And now that doesn't really seem to be the case.
No.
So when that rumor was going around that Xbox was done entirely, I was kind of thinking that might be it. And then, like you said, we heard that rumor about like that third-party handheld thing that they're doing.
Yeah, which we'll have more info. It's supposed to come out this year, 2025, and then
it's weird.
Yeah, it's very strange for them to push that. And there's so many knockoff Steam Decks and everything else like that fulfill the same thing. And it's also really weird because of Game Pass, which is kind of like their golden child right now.
Yeah.
Where they're pushing, PC plus Xbox compatibility with everything.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to go up against the Steam Deck, which, first in the market is huge, unless you can make something that's going to be much higher quality. And I don't see Xbox, like their, hardware over the years, like you said, 360 wasn't exactly, known for being quality.
Yeah, and it's odd too because out of the two current gen consoles, like the Xbox is the more powerful of the two.
Mm-hmm.
It's oddly, usually it's PlayStation that's got the more horsepower. This time around, it's the Xbox that's doing that. But it doesn't seem to be making a difference. And like you go where the games are.
Yep.
And Xbox has been having some serious first party problems this generation, even like last generation, possibly if you can make that argument, but. Things have been looking bleak, and if you're an Xbox fan these days.
Yeah, they definitely have. I mean, I can't really think of anything, even on Xbox, going back to when the Xbox One came out, that was really like a selling point for just that console.
Yeah.
I mean, other than Halo, what have they ever really, Gears? When's the last time there was a Gears game?
A good Gears game at that.
Or a good Halo game.
Yeah, Halo's been on the outs. Some would say since 4. I like 4, so I'll say 5. But that's still, we're talking a long time.
I would say 3.
Yeah, that's fair.
Halo 4 was too COD-like for me, and Halo 3 is just one of those like all-time classic, chilling with the boys, get 4 consoles hooked up in a house, like just
Yeah.
blasting each other game.
That really was like the last of the hang out with the boys kinds of games.
Right, yeah. And the Xbox 360, I mean, it's incredible how well that console did. Like, if you look at when Microsoft entered the gaming space, it was right near the end of the whole PS2 era.
Yeah.
The Dreamcast just died.
Yeah.
And Sega was a titan, and they got knocked out by PlayStation.
Yeah.
2 gens in a row, PlayStation came in swinging and just destroyed the competition.
Whatever Xbox does with its next move, it has to either knock it out of the park or it's going the ways of Sega.
Yeah.
And Sega, it's funny too, because say what you will about Sega and their lack of luck with consoles. They've always been unlucky with consoles, but Sega has always been an amazing first-party title creator.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Sega's got tons of properties that they can still crank stuff out for and do.
Right.
So, regardless of them not having a console now, Sega's still doing all right because Sega's still cranking out first-party games and just putting them on any console they want.
Yep.
I think it's interesting that it seems the move right now for Xbox, from what I understand, is they're going to start putting their games on other consoles, similar to
That's been confirmed. Yeah. Their
Sega.
exclusives are going PlayStation as well.
Which is interesting because, like, what does that mean? Like, what does that look like? First of all, like, are you mean? Like, how I just don't understand what that. What are you gonna play Halo Anniversary Collection on there, and it's crappy multiplayer like functionality on that?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's just like, I feel like either they're looking far into the future beyond what we can see, and they have this 4D chess move that makes no sense to us as lifelong gamers who have do this professionally, more
Seen
or
it
less.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it feels very similar to what Google was doing with the Stadia.
Oh yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For those of you who don't remember, Google was in the console market for a very short period of time with a device called the Stadia, which would stream video games. It was kind of sort of the Netflix of gaming,
Dude, yeah.
you might say.
Which is honestly like, I think the technology from that is being adapted into other things. Like, like the new Switch, from what I understand, is going to have something similar to that, where like it'll be able to play games at a higher resolution than normal through that sort of streaming sort of. I think that idea was ahead of its time.
It was, yeah.
But it's also still not there because no one's really asking for it yet.
Right.
We're in a weird transitional point for gaming, and I don't know that if you're anybody other than PlayStation or Nintendo, you're coming out of this alive.
Right. Well, Microsoft is just such a giant company that I feel like they can sort of, take any hits that's coming to them.
Yeah.
And if they are able to do what they are trying to do, which seems to be kind of be the Netflix of gaming, for lack of a better term, with the Game Pass is way better than what you get from PS Plus right now.
1,000%.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
It is incredible what you get. But Netflix, 10 years ago, it was incredible what you got for $10 a month.
Yeah.
And now if you look at Netflix, it's like, all right, maybe there's a show I like this month, but I'm going to cancel it and I'm going to go, get HBO Plus or HBO Max next month. You know, it's getting to the point where all of these things fragment, and it's, if Xbox puts all this time and money and effort into developing this platform, and then PlayStation sees how much money they're making, it's going to be the same thing that happened with streaming of TV and movies.
Yeah. This next generation is going to be an interesting battle to watch. But I think only from the sidelines. I think it's going to kind of suck as a gamer. I think the next generation is going to. I think this is kind of our last generation of enjoying being a gamer in its current form that we know it as.
Yeah, I think gaming's definitely going to get a lot stranger, and I think Steam is another big player that isn't in the streaming movie TV analog. I mean, if you have Steam, you own your games.
Yeah.
That's what's so great about the Steam Deck is it's all built in through that whole platform. With something like Xbox Game Pass, those games can get taken off whenever they want to.
Yep.
And even like with PlayStation, there was something, I forget exactly what it was, but it was some TV show people bought, and then they lost the rights to it, and they stripped it off of people's consoles.
Yeah.
And so Valve has had, almost over 20 years, I think now, of Steam being like this gold standard marketplace. You buy it, it's yours. There's great deals on it.
Yeah.
And it seems like Microsoft is kind of trying to like edge their way sideways into the PC, kind of like a hybrid market. And I don't see them succeeding because of that.
No, and it's, you know, without any titles to really stand out on your own as, like, why would I want to go there?
Right.
And I'm saying this as someone who's like a lifelong Xbox. I don't hate the Xbox. Like, I own the current gen Xbox, and if I'm being honest, you know, you and I were just talking about this. It's my preferred platform to play a game on. I like the controller. I like the way it feels. I love the achievement system. I feel like the online experience with Xbox far surpasses the PlayStation online experience.
Yep.
The achievement system's like, it's like a high score from like an arcade. Like, you get to see it up there. You get to see like who, out of all your friends and followers, who has the highest achievements this month. It's like, I feel like that's way more interesting, like the trophy system on PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, the trophy system was, you know, in response to the popularity of the achievement system.
Yeah.
But PS3 was like the one misstep that I feel like PlayStation made compared to, you know, every other. I feel like they've always been a little bit ahead other than the 360 PS3 era. If you're going head to head, those two companies. But I mean, just from you saying that, it brings up sort of like people are now at the point where they're cementing one or the other because they're so similar.
Yeah.
You know, there's not really I can't think of any first party Xbox titles. And then first party PlayStation stuff, it's almost like it's a timed exclusive. Like, they all end up on PC anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of those things where it's not like, oh, I have to buy a PS3 to play Demon's Souls. Like, I'm going to be able to play Elden Ring on PC.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think it's that weird like lack of exclusivity. I think that PlayStation wins hands down. Like,
Yeah.
if I had to pick between the two, PlayStation 1,000%. Like, there's no contest. They have so many good first party titles, and I've purchased so many of them since the release of the PlayStation 5. Whereas for the Xbox, I have the new Halo. It's mediocre.
Right.
It's not a bad game, but it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
And the new Hellblade was terrible.
Yep.
There's all this stuff going on behind the scenes too, where Xbox is like really cracking down on their first party developers and really pressuring them to make good games. But who's going to be able to make good games with all this pressure coming down to crank out product that create successful product or fired?
Right.
Like, that's not a good working environment to make, you know, productive and creative games. And like, I just don't see it. I don't know what Xbox is going to do. Xbox, in my opinion, is going the way of Sega within the next decade, easy.
They made a lot of mistakes the same way that Sega did with, you know, the CD, the Saturn being too expensive and everything else. I mean, from a developer's, like you're talking about, standpoint, they have to develop for both the S and X series, and there's a huge difference in power between those two. So if you're a development house and you're looking at, well, I can either make a game for PS5 or I have to make it for Series S and Series X, which is basically like making it for PS4 as well. Like, they're developing two games at once in order to go with Xbox. So it's it's not that hard to see why people wouldn't want to work with them on that front.
Yeah, 100%. Like, let's be realistic here. Like, if you're, as gamers, how long after a new console releases do you expect support for the last gen console to continue? Like, realistically, I mean this as a sincere question. Like, let us know in the comments below, because this is something that I've always found fascinating, whether it's video games or cameras or like phones. There's this weird want and expectation for a developer to continue developing for something that is become obsolete.
Right.
And, you know, people complain, it's like, oh, it hasn't been out that long. It's like, console generations are usually between 5 to 8 years these days.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what is the Switch going on, like 10 almost?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a long time.
Yeah.
So when they decide it's time to, you know, put this thing to rest, give it the old yeller.
No, Mama. There's no hope for him now, Travis. He's suffering.
I say maybe a year tops.
I would agree on principle, but I feel like the recent gen, you had COVID and the whole chip shortage increased the lifespan of that generation and, made it hard to adopt for a lot of people. A lot of people didn't want to pay $1,000 for a scalped PS5.
That was a big thing, yeah.
And I feel like ever since the PS3 to PS4 or 360 to Xbox One, they've been doing a lot of dual releases for a lot of that stuff. Like if you look back in time at those games that came out over the cusp, like Assassin's Creed 4 ended up on both of them. Like they have been doing a more sort of job to ease you into the next gen. Like even with PS5 recently, most of the games other than like the Demon Souls remake ended up being like PS4, PS5. Like Elden Ring obviously was on both.
Yeah.
And that's a huge seller. Like I feel like they've been extending that transition period over the last couple gens, but I do agree that they shouldn't really do that. And I feel like COVID is kind of like they should have in that situation just because of lack of hardware for people to adopt. But yeah, I mean, when the next generation drops, I don't expect it to be, like you said, I feel like it's obsolete at that point. So they're going to work on the new stuff. Like, why are they going to keep developing for stuff that's, ancient at that point?
Yeah.
I mean, by the time the console launches, they're already using hardware that's on the market already. I mean, look at the Switch. Every, grade school kid who walks into the store has a more powerful phone than the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
that's just what it is. So, yeah, I feel like, when you're selling these things for $300, $400, $500, it's not cutting edge technology that's underneath the hood. It's already dated.
Yeah, especially if you're a PC gamer. Like PC gamers have been laughing at console gamers for
100%.
forever.
Yeah.
That's nothing new. But for us, console gamers, I think it's the convenience of just having one system that's dedicated towards doing this thing, and you get to play specific titles that are built for this console. I think that's the idea. Whereas PCs, like, you get all your indie stuff, but I kind of get that fixed with my Switch.
Yeah, and I feel like PC has also gotten a lot better at being more user-friendly. Like I've talked before on the podcast, I grew up with PC gaming as well, and I still do it. But as far as before, it was like they were developing for 800 different configurations that a PC could possibly be. And I feel like nowadays it's gotten a lot more streamlined as far as what graphics cards people are using, how much easier it is to get a game up and running. Because back in the day, it was like you're trolling through the system registry, which you shouldn't be in. You're 11, 12 years old, like changing values that could brick your computer. But nowadays it's more, just plug and play. And I feel like Steam also helps that a lot with compatibility and patching and everything else like that.
Yeah.
So I do see like PC getting more and more of a share in gaming now, as we're kind of getting to the point where it's like your PS5 or your Series X is basically a computer.
Yeah.
It's a computer in a box without a keyboard.
And they're treating them as such, especially with like these mid-gen, like mid-life cycle updates, where it's like now you get like the PS5 Pro, and how long before Xbox puts out a fucking Xbox Pro, and
right?
Just this thing they do to create the longevity of the console as far as power is concerned. But I think the biggest problem, and a lot of the things gamers are complaining about the most, is like, what's the point of all this, like, all this power if there's nothing to play on it?
Right.
And that's been a big complaint. Like, especially if you're an Xbox gamer, like, there's no reason, unless you're the most avid Halo fan, to own an Xbox this generation. Like, I've struggled to really find an argument for it, even though I own one, and I've bought plenty of games for it. Like, I'll buy my Resident Evils on there to play those, because again, I like the achievement system, and it's a nice console to play on. But when it comes to like my Resident Evil 8, I buy that on my PlayStation 5 because it's got the VR capabilities and get my PSVR 2.
Right.
So it's like that little gizmo is going to attract me to that more in certain respects, where it's like the there's almost just like a familiarity with the Xbox at this point is being the reason I play it more because I have one.
Right.
But if I didn't have one, I don't feel like I'd be missing out on anything this console generation at all.
Probably not.
Nothing
Like,
at all.
the only thing I could think of that was ever that I wasn't able to play, but I can now, was Sea of Thieves. Was an Xbox exclusive, and now that's also PS5. Does Xbox even have VR? Did they?
No, they never did
never-
the VR. Nope, they never did the VR thing. Unless
Yeah.
you like, isn't Oculus Microsoft or is that Facebook or
No,
Meta?
it's Meta.
Is
yeah,
it Meta?
Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then no, I don't think Microsoft has a VR thing just dedicated specifically for the
Right.
Xbox. They might
Yeah.
have a patent under their company, but
Right. Yeah. They probably have something, but nothing comparable to like the VR2.
I think the Kinect kind of like veered them off from
Yeah.
messing with peripherals as much as they
Yeah.
were experimenting with at that time.
Well, that's why I switched from, because I was huge 360. I had both PS2 and Xbox because, they had better or different exclusives.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto at the time was PS2 only. And then eventually it ended up on Xbox.
Yep.
But if you wanted to play it when it came out, you were playing it on PS2.
Yeah.
And then Halo was incredible, Xbox only. And then the 360 era, I feel like, other than Demon's Souls, every game that I wanted to play was on 360.
Yeah.
There weren't that many PS3 exclusives that were like, blow out of the water, amazing.
Yeah.
So, but once the Kinect came out and it was required, and they had the whole you have to be online all the time. Like, remember the game sharing commercial that
Yeah.
PlayStation came out with,
Yeah.
where this is how you share your game, and they just hand the game to the other dude.
Yeah.
Like that, it wasn't even a stumble. It was like they were sprinting and they just fell flat on their face and broke their nose.
Yeah, and they haven't quite recovered since.
No.
It's been an interesting couple of years, especially with the Jesus Christ.
naming,
The
yep.
naming system alone. Like, I'm trying to think specifically of what the last Xbox was. It was the Xbox One.
There was the one.
The current
which-
one is the Xbox Series X.
Yeah, there was the one, and then there was the 1S, 1X.
And now it's the Xbox Series X.
Yep.
So that last generation saw 3 different versions of the Xbox console.
Yep.
That's asinine.
Yeah.
Like, Xbox is just, it just feels like misstep after misstep lately, and all of this. What was that game that they had that tanked terribly? Was it Red Watch or something like that? Or
Ooh, I know what you're.
I'm gonna have to edit this. I'll edit.
Yeah.
I'll correct myself in the
Yeah.
video. But that last game was just like a. It just seems like it's disastrous release after disastrous release, and I don't like. At what point do you? Like, at what point do you just abandon ship altogether? Which is why I thought those rumors of.
Right, we're true.
I was so surprised to hear about that handheld console, which, like, let's be honest. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. I don't see who would be buying it. I really don't. If you want a handheld, you either going to get a Switch 2 and be fine with that. If you want something with a little more power, you're going to play on a Steam Deck.
Yep.
That's it. Like, I don't see what else there is to say about the whole thing. There's no reason to have that console. There's no use for it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the PlayStation Portal.
Yeah.
Like, who's buying that, Like, we were talking about the Backbone, which is a third-party thing that you can plug your phone in, and that's $100 versus $450 or whatever it's going to end up being.
Yeah.
Like, who, what sort of, marketing degree dude in Microsoft sitting there going, oh, we need a new Steam Deck. It's like, no, you're wasting your money. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And it seems strange to me that they're doing that because I've been thinking about, this whole thing for a while, ever since we heard rumors Xbox was going under. And I was like, oh, they're trying to pivot towards more of like a library sort of thing, the Steam. We're the place you go to get games, not what you play the games on. But it seems like now they're trying to do both in a way. And it's like, why are you doing that? Either if you give all of your exclusives to PlayStation, why would anyone buy this handheld device?
Yeah. I think that's a very valid point. And then would you stop to think about the the time spent building up a library and a rapport like Steam did. Like Steam is Steam.
Yeah.
It's been around for a long time.
And
So-
people hated it when it started.
yeah.
They hated Steam. They were like, why do I need this stupid program to play Half-Life? And now it's, you couldn't get rid of it. It is, if you play games on your PC, you have Steam. And that's where you buy things from.
Yeah.
Other than the free games you get from Epic Store that you just log in to download. Like, that's it,
I think the weird thing that Xbox is trying to do is it's almost like they're trying to take the wind out of Steam sales by saying like, so say for example, let's put what you just said into theory where it's like Xbox is like, we're the place where you go to play games regardless of the platform or whatever. Their games are like, say you use Game Pass as that sort of standard. Half of those games you're going to be able to get on Steam because they're PC ports, and then the other half you can get on PlayStation 5.
Right.
And then the 0.02% that are first-party titles you don't want to play anyway.
Yeah.
So what service are you really offering that I am not already getting elsewhere that's better?
Right.
So what point is there? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like at that point, what's the point?
Right.
So
Yeah, and it's like we were talking about earlier. Game Pass is great now, but where it's something like this, where there's licenses involved and it's, temporary, what games are going to be there, what games aren't going to be there, it could be crap in 3 years. People could be looking back at now as like the golden age of Game Pass. Like, kind of like that whole, what was that thing where you could pay monthly and you go to as many movies as you wanted?
oh yeah.
And that just disappeared.
Yeah, dude, that was a weird death knell. Yeah, for the theater industry. Yeah.
Right. But it's the same sort of thing where it's like Steam, you own these games. They're yours. You bought them, you paid for them, they'll always be there. Xbox Game Pass, no, you're renting them. You have a license to access these games for this month, and then if you stop paying, they're gone. Same with PlayStation Plus. But because of that, they can get rid of those games whenever they have to.
Why? What's the point?
I know.
I don't understand. Like, especially if you're just renting something that you don't really have the rights for anyway.
Right.
It's just like you said. It's just going to disappear. Wait,
Yeah.
what?
So where's the
incentive? Business model in
Right.
that? Now I'm just thinking about like what they're even trying to do.
Yeah.
Is it like? I don't understand. Now I really don't understand the point. We were just like we were just being hypothetical about that.
Yeah.
And now I honestly don't understand the point at all.
I don't either, because it's either they see some vision of the future, like I said, that we don't, or it's, they're so short-sighted that it's just, oh, this quarter, Game Pass is doing amazing, so let's keep pushing that model, not knowing down the road all the wheels are going to fall off.
Dude.
I really, I loved the 360. I thought it was incredible, especially once they got the slim model out and it wouldn't break every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It's a great console. Like, if you come in and you want a 360, buy a slim. Don't buy the old, beat up white one. I know it's like retro and cool, but I can't guarantee it's not going to red ring the next time you turn it on. It's just a piece of junk hardware. Please don't. Please buy the slim. But amazing library.
Yeah.
And you can still, I'm looking at the 360 games right behind you, and there's so many great ones.
Yeah.
I would rather, if you sat me down and gave me a Series X or a 360 Slim, I would take the 360 Slim.
I don't blame you. There's more to play.
There's more to play, and there's so many great games on it.
Yeah.
And it's just so sad to see them go from that to this sort of confused mess of just garbage that they're throwing out there.
Gaming is in a weird place right now.
It is, just generally, yeah.
I feel like this Goliath that is being brought to its knees and is just flailing.
Yeah.
Just flailing wildly at its last breath for anything, to strike down any enemy it can. And it's just, woof. Woof, you just missing, you just dodging it. I just don't understand the future of gaming. And I'm not saying that as an old man who doesn't understand technology, because I understand how things work just fine.
Yeah.
I've been playing video games since I was 6 when they fucking just first started.
Right.
But just watching the advent of technology and I think the biggest thing that just keeps getting lost, and I don't understand why, is the quality of games.
Right.
Game quality just continues to take a dive.
Mm-hmm.
And like those, it feels like more and more stuff is being made, and it's easier to find something you like because of the copious amount of developers, whether it's indie or first party, all that stuff.
Yep.
There's so many developers making stuff right now
Right.
that you're gonna find some flavor that you like,
Yeah.
but it just doesn't feel like it used to, where it's like every release was important because it was a new game for that console that came out.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think like the 16-bit generation was like the last time you really just felt like it was like all out war, and these companies were like legitimately like battling for your dollars because they had the best thing.
Right.
And they were so like intent on proving that they had the best thing.
What Nintendo?
And now it's just like, here's a slight facelift to the online experience, or
Yep.
it feels like PS3. PS5 feels the same as PS3.
Yeah, it's the same, more or less. Very similar layout and everything like that.
These things are just, like, it feels like these things are just getting slight like polishes in their like veneer, and like that's it. Like,
Yeah.
nothing is. I don't feel that like there's these crazy big games that I'm looking forward to anymore. Like the blockbuster game is like, when was the last time like a blockbuster game was like something you looked forward to that wasn't like Nintendo?
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo really is the only ones who are still cranking out first-party stuff that's just like mind-blowing in the same old way. But yeah, anytime anything new for PS4 comes out, or PS5 even, and both consoles, it's like nothing really is like crazy, Like the last thing I look forward to is maybe Bloodborne, which was like a PS4 launch title, I think.
Yeah.
Like there hasn't really been, AAA gaming has gotten to this point where it's just so bland and bloated that it's just like look at like COD Warzone, where now they're selling skins where you can be like, it's basically Fortnite, where Peter Griffin's running around fighting like, Santa Claus.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And it's like, this isn't COD. Like, what are you guys doing? It's ridiculous. So, yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a lot, how most of what we get excited for outside of like Nintendo stuff is going to be indie games,
Yeah.
And some of the best games I've played in the last 5 years have been indie
1,000%.
or smaller studios, not these giant, have 100% backing from PlayStation, or, I mean, Concord had that, and that game didn't, like, that game was over so quick you couldn't even download it before you played it.
Yeah.
Like, and same with Xbox. I mean, there's a game that I know we both can't think of it right now, but it was the same sort of deal. It was just out and then gone.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a couple $100 million just flushed down the drain.
Yeah, and they cost so much to make now. It's just like this. I feel like gaming has become like this thing, especially with like the blockbuster gaming.
Yep.
Like avenue where it's like everything's just trying so hard to be catered to everyone that it caters to no one.
Yep.
It's this weird generic thing with like movies too, where it's the same thing, where it's just like it wants so hard to be likable by everyone, but it has no personality. There's nothing there that you haven't seen before. It's just blah.
Right.
It's just like, it's like eating an Ash ice cream cone. You're like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, movies have no longer have the money that gaming brings in.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the DVD and Blu-ray golden age, they were making hand over fist money making movies. But nowadays, all the money is in gaming, I can't even imagine how many billions of dollar industry it is per year, but it's got to be absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Gaming, it's insane, especially like esports, and
Oh, yeah.
there's so many different avenues for it because there's so many different genres.
Yeah.
it's wild, and like I feel like this is getting a little doom and gloomy, and I don't feel like we're trying to, but it's hard not to when like you're talking about the future of a platform that you've enjoyed for, over 20 years now.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think it's been around that long and been a part of, our lives that long. But
Oh, yeah.
I remember booting up the old giant pot roast of a Xbox and firing up some Halo, playing four per person on a couch with friends and stuff. And that was a blast. And
Yeah.
like those days of gaming are just gone.
Yep.
And we're never going to get them back.
Right.
And I think the thing that is so sad about it is just like what is I feel like we're gearing up towards a future where it's like not only do you not have those moments where you're getting together with your buddies on a couch and just like playing some games,
Right.
but like you don't necessarily even have the rights to a thing you own anymore, and
Yeah.
like it's just like it's just becoming like the experience is just becoming more watered down and more like sanitized and just like more generic. And like what is it even going to become? Is that like for me, like you said, like the indie scene is where it's at. And
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, as far as first person or, first party development that isn't, I mean, Nintendo's always been kid friendly anyway, so they kind of just own that, but they make great games. But yeah, as far as PlayStation, if it's something that's being pushed by Sony themselves, most of the time I'm just going to ignore it until I hear from, friends or something like that. Like Helldivers 2, you and I play a lot of that still.
Astrobot is one of the
And
best.
Astrobot is an amazing
One of the
platformer.
best platformers ever made.
Right, but I'm not going to buy it day one.
Yeah.
But like as far as, the hopeful side of gaming or what I still enjoy about it, I love how many developers there are. Like there's been an entire generation, like our generation, that grew up with computers and video games, and 3 people make Hollow Knight or 1 person makes Celeste.
Yeah.
And Celeste is,
It's beautiful.
it's a great, amazing game. It wouldn't be a podcast we didn't bring up Celeste again. It's actually in our contract. We have to mention Celeste every
And no one
episode.
pays us.
Nobody pays us. No, I wrote the contract to myself, from myself. But 1 person made that game.
Yeah.
And technology has gotten to the point, and I hope that, I'm sure it'll just get easier and easier with AI and everything else to develop, art assets and games and everything else like that, where people will just put their passion and make games that, still capture that old magic that it used to be, professionals made those.
Yeah, and it's wild to see that like just these AAA titles and these juggernauts of companies, like juggernauts, like Xbox has always been like one of the titans of gaming for the past 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
they're one of the top. They're the 3. It's one of the 3.
Yep.
You got your Nintendo, you got your Sony, and you got your Microsoft. And like it's so weird to be having a conversation where it's like, what is the future of Xbox? But it's like, I don't care.
Right.
And that's a weird thing to say as a gamer. It's like, I don't care. Like, you lost me. Like, you had Destiny, and it's like, that was fun for a little while until it wasn't. And it's just like all, again, like these recycled things and like these cash grabs and these like money, microtransaction. It's like, gimme. And it's like, like, what are you giving me in return?
Yeah.
Like, where's the experience? Where's the fun?
Yeah.
Like, where's the fun? That's what this is supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. And if all you're doing is like clamping down on your developers and giving them like impossible deadlines and churn out product. Why is product not satisfactory? Fired. Like, what kind of environment does that create for these people that are supposed to be making the next great thing?
Right.
Like, how are you supposed to create the next best thing if that's all you're like? It's the only direction you're given.
Well, I think that's the problem with any sort of industry where before, if it was 1990, 1980, the people who were in these companies and heading these companies were people who had made video games and understood what, programming was and gaming was and everything else. And now it's like, I always thought it was weird, even back in the day when Microsoft got into, and even Sony got into that space. Because Sony, makes TVs, they make VCRs, everything else, Walkman. And, Microsoft was sort of the same thing. It's like these people make computer software. Why are they making a console? They're not Atari, they're not Sega, they're not Nintendo. So it's almost like this sort of weird interloper, but now they're the market.
Yeah.
It was always strange to me when people were like, oh yeah, Bill Gates is making a video game console. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Really?
I read about that like in
Yeah.
EGM back in the day.
Yeah, he
You're
was
like, what?
there like giving out the first ones.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what? Like, I mean, okay, it turned out dope.
Yeah.
First two consoles, I mean, they were good, but yeah, after that, not.
This is an interesting question. I'm going to pose this to the audience as well. Do you think that this is all a result of just the way that we're just like we're in like a consumer market, obviously?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this is just sort of the end result of success plus consumerism equals you just get to this point where you plateau and there's just nowhere to go but down because you get like too greedy, you get short-sighted.
Yeah.
You just lose the vision of what you were intending to do. And then you just become this thing. It just eats up everything until it can't eat anymore and it just collapses under its own weight.
Right.
And I wonder if that's where we're at now. It's like that movie They Live, you know, it's just like
Right, where
consume
they
signs
consume
everywhere.
everything,
Yeah.
Great movie.
It is a great movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's odd because, you know, we've always lived in a consumer-based
Right.
market.
Yeah.
But it just feels so prevalent now because everything
Yeah.
is vying for your attention.
Right.
Even individuals, like, you know, sole small proprietors or business owners like are just doing that same thing, you know, making ads because they have something they want to sell. It's just like you can't go anywhere without being bombarded by some kind of product or thing to purchase
Right.
that wants your money and your attention. And at what point do you just not have the power to influence somebody anymore with
Right.
your thing
Yeah.
that you want to have? Because it's no longer special.
Right.
And I think that is what Xbox is it's no longer special.
Yeah.
Sony still feels special. You'll get good first party titles.
Yep.
Nintendo feels special still. Xbox has just become, it's just a name. Like there's nothing to that name, and it doesn't command the respect that it once did.
Well, do you know what's funny about talking about Xboxes and naming? Do you know why they called it Xbox One? So at the time when they were developing it, people would call the Xbox 360 the 360. They're like, oh, I'm playing with my buddies on my 360, blah, blah, blah. So they figured if they named it Xbox One, people would say, oh, I'm going to go play on the One. And it's sort of like that weird, like psychological thing where it's like the one, it's the only one, you know what I mean? But nobody called it the One, the same way 360. Like they kind of, it's showing their whole like psychobabble marketing is missing the whole point that people called it 360 because the name was just so friggin' long. And calling it Xbox One, we already had an Xbox that was the first one, was just weird, you know?
Yeah.
That they're kind of missing the point. And I feel like more to like your question, that we've almost moved past the point where it's all this like, here's how long psychologically to let a player play before giving them a reward, you know, or make them this frustrated and then they'll purchase something in your store to make the game earlier. Like we've so over tinkered with all of that I feel like people are going to start being like, I want something that just feels real.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't have that granularity where it's just like, oh, I'm going to make the game slightly easier for you because you suck. Or I'm going to make it slightly more annoying because you're not spending enough money. You know, people are just going to want to have an experience that doesn't feel connected to them in that way.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to want an adventure, not a theme park, you know? And I feel like we've gone past the point where like a lot of the games you and I talk about and love don't care how bad or good we are as gamers. They just present themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have that with like the Souls game phenomenon, where those games are super popular because they're hard the way Mega Man is hard.
Yeah.
But they're fun because like Mega Man, once you get all the patterns down, you feel like a boss.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a reward, an accomplishment.
Right. Versus now, you swipe a credit card. and you win, you know?
Yeah.
Or you're playing online and your MMR drops so low, you're playing against bots until it gives you a free win, you know? Like, there's all sorts of things they do to keep people engaged that, I mean, people aren't that dumb. Like, I feel like in a way you can always tell you're being lied to, even if, you know, you're kind of just going along with it because you want to play a game or something. You know, in the back of your head, like, I didn't win that match. Like, they were just sort of throwing me a bone so I wouldn't rage quit and, you know, affect their metrics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's somewhere in the back of your head, you can just sort of tell, like, no, this is artificial. And I feel like that's, or what I hope is that that's what we'll see in gaming moving forward, is people just putting out cool stuff that they like. And if you like it as well, cool. If not, you know, I made it after school or after work in my spare time, like Animal Well, for example, stuff like that.
I think we need another console war. If you stop to think about it, like, think about how awesome that was when you
Yeah.
had Nintendo and Sega just going at it, like,
Well, they went at it probably
rivals.
the hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like the last time gaming felt special because you
Mm-hmm.
had these two companies that were like, they were actively vying for your dollars. Like, they
Mm-hmm.
were like trying to show you why they were the best. There was a reason why they were the best, and whether it was like their games or like, this console is way more powerful than this console. It
Right.
does what, you know, Genesis does what Nintendo doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, all of these things that were just, it felt more like you, like they were pitching to you,
Mm-hmm.
rather than it was just like, yeah, it's the next one. You're gonna buy it.
Yep.
What's different about it? Who cares? It doesn't matter. You're gonna
Yeah.
buy it.
Well, that's also on us, though. I mean, how many FIFAs or Maddens have come out that people pay $60 every year for a slightly updated roster, and, you know, that's it.
This episode's making me depressed. We're sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it was sort of a depressing topic, the downfall of Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, how do you not get a little bummed out like that? You're right.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Blizzard episode.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a light at the end of this tunnel, though, because this poses more questions to me than it does answers, this episode.
Yeah, I mean, usually when we talk about stuff, I feel like we come to some sort of, like, you know, new understanding or something like that. I feel just as lost as when we started, if not
So do
more.
I. Yeah.
Like, I'm definitely not buying an Xbox. I can tell you that.
Don't.
Yeah, I won't.
Yeah.
You can buy the games here, though.
Yeah,
I got
come
a bunch
get
of Xbox One
Ton of
games.
them.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. If you don't have a play, say you already have, if you already have an Xbox, come get games for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't have a PlayStation, get an Xbox. I guess. You know. Or don't. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I'm getting a Switch too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't wait for that. You know why? Nintendo, time and time again. They're just there to high five you.
Yeah, they picked their lane and they stuck in it, and it was, you know, at the time looking at the Wii, we were like, what the hell are you people doing?
Yeah.
You know, but now it's like, oh, okay, I get it. You guys have positioned yourself, you know. I mean, the Steam Deck is basically, in its own way, kind of copying what the Switch did.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
but for PC.
Yeah.
So it's like that. We talked about that earlier, though. Like,
Yeah.
that's different. That differentiates itself enough by catering to a market that already exists
Yep.
for PC players to take their stuff on the go.
Right.
It makes perfect sense. Nintendo, here's a Nintendo. You can play Nintendo games on the go, and
Yep.
any other thing on our library. Xbox. Again, like, ugh. Like, why?
Never been in the handheld.
Well, why?
Yeah. Didn't have, you know, a PS Vita, PSP, anything.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What differentiates you? Oh, cool, I'll play the new Halo on there.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Maybe. It's not. It's not going to be fun.
Right.
Oh. Nintendo. Just Nintendo, I guess.
Yeah. Light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's the light at the end of
Nintendo
Nintendo.
will always
Nintendo.
be there.
It'll
They were
always
there
be there.
before video games, making playing cards. So,
Damn right. They've always been
yeah.
entertainment. Even when there was no entertainment, they were there.
Yep. Yeah. Once the EMPs all drop, well, Nintendo will still be making, you know, sticks and stones games.
I'll be there to play them.
They'll probably be dope.
They will be. Of course they will be.
They'll be dope. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's it for this depressing episode.
Yeah. If this episode depressed you, most of them are pretty uplifting. So check out all our other episodes down below. They're really fun and awesome and super influential, entertaining, all those great words.
Yeah, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Facebook. Come on down to the store, buy a bunch of stuff. There's games everywhere.
Yeah.
There's so much. This is one of the coolest retro gaming stores you'll ever see. And you get to talk to this guy who's here all the time. He never gets to leave,
I actually sleep in the back.
but we don't let him sleep.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's go.
All right,
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
later.